My parents invited me to Colonial Williamsburg, Virginia. My stepfather, Mike Thompson, was attending a reunion tour there with members of the Army Security Agency from the Vietnam War. We parked at the Art Museum of Colonial Williamsburg. We made our way to Burton Parish Episcopal Church. The church was established in 1674. On the day, we mainly enjoyed the architecture and only entered into a few of the buildings that you could enter. Some houses are set up as museums and some houses are private residences. It must be a true experience to live in one of these large colonial houses. We made our way down Palace Green Street, and I was surprised to discover how large the lots are. It is free and there are not any lines, so of course we enjoyed a stroll through the gardens of the governor's palace. I could not figure out what this small meeting place was. It looked like a small church, but there were churches close by. Let me know if you know. I hope the shade in this stall helped cool the horses. The palace took 17 years to build and finally completed in 1722. The gravel paths and the formality of the gardens reminded me of some of the gardens in Paris, which is definitely a good thing. I love meandering through tree tunnels on a nice day. The motto written in French, God am I right? We participated in a reenactment of an actual court case from the 1700s. Let's listen in.
Mr. Clerk, please read Mrs. Vogue's declaration.
Jane Vogue, tavern keeper to the worshipful justices of the King's Court. Everybody in town knows that I keep the finest of taverns, being fully suited for the complete entertainment of the best sort of gentlemen, and that none has been more scrupulous in obeying the laws governing taverns. To do this, I have had to be very close with my accounts.
May it please the court, lest you think that the vagabond of the plaintiff implies, you inform that the court I did not come here with empty pockets. I brought good Carolina paper money.
Mr. Iredale, paper is not money. Gold, silver, to a certain extent copper is money.
This court stands adjourned. God save the King.
God save the King.
If you do the crime, you do the time.
Pretty much everything that is non-perishable.
I assume they put the magazine and guardhouse in the center of town for easy access. The William Lightfoot house was not a permanent residence, but Lightfoot had spent so much time there that he felt he needed a house in Williamsburg. There we saw a worker performing on a loom machine.
They use machines like this, called a loom. Your loom allows you to stretch out your work, which is all of the yarn that you're going to have set up in front of you so that you can insert another one under, over, under, over, under, over. And I can do that pretty easily because I also have my work organized. Each of these 4 frames here, we call them harnesses, they are responsible for controlling a group of all of those yarns so that I can make a little space. We call it a shed. I can then toss my shuttle through there. It leaves behind one thread, take your foot off the pedal, and now I have a string that ends up over, under, over, under, over, under, over, under, the whole way across 918 yards. Now it's 1/36 of an inch. Pretty exciting stuff, I know. Then you step on 2 new pedals, pass your shuttle in, 2 new pedals, and basically you just do that until either you run out of yarn, you run out of daylight, or you run out of gas.
We completed our stroll down West Duke of Gloucester Street. There were taverns and inns and other shops along the way. One of the surprising designs of Williamsburg is how wide the street is. I usually see narrow streets in historic towns. We finished at the Capitol building, where bills were debated and where some became Virginia laws. While Dad spent time with the Army Security Agency, Mom and I went to Princess's and Port, where tobacco went out and military supplies came to Williamsburg. The next day we went to Jamestown Settlement. Jamestown was the first permanent English settlement in America. This museum is close, but not on the actual settlement site because of historical significance. The state flags and plaques for all 50 states are displayed in front of the museum. The first exhibit that we visited was Fort James. There were several buildings that had been reconstructed, along with some cannons and other artifacts to represent 1608. Look at how almost everything is made of wood. Of course, there was a lot of lumber in the area, but just think of all the work and skill it would take to build these. This is a reconstruction of the church where Pocahontas married John Wolfe. This is the governor's house. Nice even by today's standards, except for the low ceilings. Excavation of the real Jamestown fort found that the first governor's house was built after 1910. A Smith demonstration. The first 3 original ships that brought men to Virginia were reconstructed and on display. This is the flagship Susan Constant.
Welcome to look around the ship as you like. If you want to head below at any point, this entrance here will take you down.
The Susan Constant has 3 masts. It is equipped with 8 cannons, 4 on each side.
How many people was it again? 71.
71.
17 crew, 54 passengers.
In 150 days?
144.
Right.
About a week shy of 5 months.
Gotcha. I did not see a lot of beds. I'm assuming most people slept on the floor wherever they could find a place. One of the sails of one of the ships, probably the Discovery, as it was the only ship to stay with the colonists, was used as a tarp tied to 4 trees to serve as the first church. The last living exhibit is the Piscataqua town. The Piscataqua were one of more than 30 Algonquian-speaking tribal groups that belonged to the Powhatan chiefdom. These structures were not as luxurious as the Fort James structures, but it looks like they kept the rain off and would be comfortable enough. They are recreating a dugout canoe. Dugout is a false name, as these trees were burned out to create the canoe. Our final visit at Jamestown Settlement was the museum. I found this museum to be very interesting. I was especially impressed with the fact that the museum also presented aspects of Jamestown that were not flattering, like the Jamestown Massacre and slavery. One can spend hours of learning in this large museum. Keep learning and having fun.